WiSP Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to Season 1, Episode 9 of the WiSP Sports Desk here on WiSP Sports. I'm Chris Stafford, and my partner in crime is Nancy Gillen from Inside the Games, who will be joining us shortly. I believe she's back home in England, having just covered the World Bodybuilding Championships last week when we spoke to her, and she's going to be doing more of that soon. So I hope she's enjoying the break in between the two. Nancy, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
So far, so good. I was just saying you're back in England now after covering the World Bodybuilding Championships, but you're going back again. Where are you going next time for the Women's Bodybuilding Championships?
So the women's is in Slovakia, so luckily a little bit closer to home. So I'll be heading over there next week.
Well, good for you. You're getting around quite a bit. Any more travels before the end of the year?
No, that will be it. I'm going away with my family over Christmas, but that's not with work, so that'll just be a nice holiday.
I bet it will. All the travelling you've been doing this year, you'll be ready for a break. And of course, we're leading into an Olympic year, which will get even busier. But we've got a lot of news to cover, as usual, Nancy, on this week's show. And we have to kick off, no pun intended, with soccer, don't we?
Yeah, of course. There's been a lot of stuff happening this week.
There certainly has. Well, topping our news, which we just broke today, actually, we knew that Sam Kerr, the Australian striker who's been in the US for the last couple of seasons with the Chicago Red Stars, she's actually been, giving us notice that she's picking a European team to move to. And today it was announced that she's going to be joining Chelsea FC. What an addition to their roster, right there, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at her record, she literally breaks records all the time. I think she's the record top scorer in the NWSL, which is the American League, and then the Australian League as well, the W League. So she's, I think people are saying that she kind of wanted to come over to Europe because she is the best. She was the best in the American League. She's the best in the Australian League, and now she wants to try and prove herself in the WSL. Which it'd be really interesting to see how she does, because I think Chelsea were kind of the obvious choice because a lot of the other teams kind of have their attack sorted out, but even Chelsea have people like Cuthbert. They've got Beth England, who scored for England yesterday. They've got Bachmann, who's a really good striker. Frank Kirby. They've got a really, really strong attacking lineup already, so she's going to probably come in straight away just because of her previous record, but she is really going to have to prove herself still.
Yeah, it will be a fun challenge for her, and it sounded like she was up for this challenge. I think she is available from January. At that point, she signs off her responsibilities on the other two continents. But as you say, she's been record-breaking this year. I think she scored 5 goals in the World Cup. She's just been named a week or two ago as the NWSL's most valuable player, scoring a record 19 goals in 23 games and won her 3rd consecutive Golden Boot. She really is a star. And you know what I love watching her play, Nancy, is her anticipation is superb, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think she's a player that you'd want in your team just in the penalty box, because she just seems to, as soon as she gets the ball, she knows where the goal is and she can just, from anywhere score a goal. So I think she's definitely a good addition to any team. So Chelsea, I'm quite jealous. They're lucky to have her.
Yeah, they are. Now, I know you're a soccer fan, football fan as well. Which team do you support?
I support Arsenal.
Okay. Oh, top of the league, aren't they? Arsenal?
Yeah, Chelsea are technically top of the league at the moment. But Arsenal won last season and hopefully will win again. But yeah, it's interesting because Chelsea are kind of, it's between Chelsea and Arsenal at the moment, and now Chelsea have just signed a really good striker. So, but we've got Vivian Miedema, who's also breaking her own records as well. So, she's kind of like the main striker in the WSL at the moment. So whether Kerr takes that title off her, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled for Sam, and we'll be watching that with interest, of course, because she just is so much fun to watch. And good luck to Chelsea. So I think this one deserves. And that's for all that she's done this year so far, and much more to come from Sam. So the best of luck, Sam Kerr, as you make your way over to England in the middle of winter, but right after Christmas. I think she's got some family there, didn't she say, as well, which also convinced her she wanted to be in London.
Yeah, that will probably help from it's going to be the Australian sun to the British winter, so hopefully the family being there will help her settle in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, a lot of other football was played this past weekend as well. I'm going to start with the US, if you don't mind, because we did win 6-0 in our final game of the season to Costa Rica. Okay, we were expected to win, but 6-0. And you know what really impressed me, Nancy, yet again, is somehow Carly Lloyd has just gone up a gear since the World Cup. I mean, she was on fire during the World Cup. But now, since the World Cup, she seems to be striving even harder to maintain her place and stay in front of forgot his name now. So what's his name? The new coach. Now I can't pronounce his name. I look at it all the time and I'm stumped. But she's trying to get his attention because Alex Morgan is out expecting a baby. But I can't tell you how impressive Carly was in the past few games of the season. She just came out all guns blazing, and she scored in the 4th minute, I think it was, against Costa Rica. She really is blazing a trail now. So good luck to her. And we saw some new girls coming into the team, earning their first cap. So that was nice. And there was quite a few changes in the second half there to give some of the other faces a run before the season closes out here, because it's going to be a big year, obviously, with Olympic qualifiers next year for the US. So they cannot afford to be complacent, because they still have to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics, don't they?
Yeah, they've got. I suppose maybe that's quite a bit of motivation to impress and stay in the team. I think England at the moment, we don't have qualifiers for the Olympics because we've already qualified from the World Cup. And we've got the tournament after that is the Euros in 2021, but that's happening in England. So we've already qualified as hosts. So until She Believes Cup, obviously in after Christmas, but that's not technically, kind of competitive. And then we've, the next big thing is the Olympics. So people of England haven't been performing that well at the moment, as the past 2 results have kind of shown. Well, the past 10 results really have shown, and that maybe a lack of kind of real competitive game time is because of that. Yeah,
quite possibly. And I apologise to Vlatko Andonovski. I don't know why that didn't trip off my tongue. I'm getting used to saying it now because we've got so used to it. Jill Ellis was easy to remember, obviously. But Vlatko Andonovski, of course, was the newly named US Women's National Soccer Team coach. So a new season ahead for him and new challenges with it being an Olympic year. But the England team, well, swings and roundabouts for them a little bit just lately, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's largely been, in terms of performance, it's been viewed as negative. I mean, the World Cup was okay. It was good, but we didn't really perform that well apart from the Norway game. And we did okay against the US, but and obviously we lost, but it was the US. But the performance was kind of like satisfactory. It got us through the tournament to the semi-finals. But then since then, it's just been pretty horrendous. We've lost every game apart from a 1-0 win against Portugal, which was just not confident. And then yesterday, I watched the game yesterday. We beat the Czech Republic 3-2, and we were down 1-0. And then came back 2-1, conceded another goal, and then it was only Leah Williamson scored in the last 10 minutes, and it was her first international goal, so that was really great that she did that, but it was quite fluky. It was kind of a deflection. The keeper probably could have done better. But yeah, I mean, people were, with Phil Neville, the manager, people were not happy when he was selected anyway, because he didn't actually have any managerial experience whatsoever, and people kind of saw it as an insult. But I think people were willing to give him a go. But now the results aren't there, and every single player on that pitch is, of the highest level. There's no weak link. So the results in Czech Republic, when like the American team beating Costa Rica 6-0, you would no disrespect to the Czech Republic, but you would expect probably the same kind of scoreline. I mean, we were just beating them. So yeah, with the Olympics coming up next year as well, and Phil Neville has taken the reins for the GB team, which again isn't popular. So I think a lot of people here are hoping for some kind of managerial change quite soon.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if it isn't time for this for Phil Neville.
Yeah,
he's skirting around it, but if you don't have the results, I know for coaches over here would get the boot. They would get the boot, and they'd get some of this.
Yeah, I think that's where people are starting to get frustrated, because he's been there for over 2 years now, and it's kind of like, well, okay, what point do we admit that this is not what we wanted to be happening? And I think the main, I forgot to mention, but the match at the weekend was against Germany, and it was at Wembley, and it was 77,000 people were there, which was the record for an England game. Unfortunately, it wasn't the record for a game of English football in women's football in the country, because that was set at the final of the London 2012 Olympics, and that was 80,000. But it was pretty close, and obviously when you have that many people coming to watch the game and such a big occasion, and you're playing Germany, who are kind of one of our arch rivals, to not really perform was not good. And I think Neville keeps talking about how it's great how far women's football was coming and what they're doing for the development of women's football. But I think at some point you need to start getting the results to keep people interested and keep people wanting to watch. And yeah, he's not getting results. So like you said, I think anywhere else, I think he'd be gone by now for sure.
Yeah, I think he would. And, not just not getting the results and disillusioning the public and the fans, but imagine what team morale is like.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit strange, because one of his criticisms is that he's picking players that aren't in form for their club. So we talked about Beth England, who did score yesterday, but she didn't play at all against Germany, and she's just been on fire in the WSL this season. And I think it's probably players like that are on the outskirts and have, are doing everything they can to play, and they're not being played for people that just aren't in form. I reckon they might be a bit unhappy, and then I think maybe the general atmosphere is souring a bit. He's very charismatic, and he's very personable, so I don't know, I think people like him, like the players probably like him, but at some point I think they're going to have to say this just isn't working.
Yeah, charm and charisma doesn't win games, does it?
No, definitely not.
No. Well, we'll see what happens, because really, can they afford to go into an Olympic year when this kind of form and with that kind of prospect, they're being on a losing streak like this, you've got to come in with a lot more confidence and self-belief, and I think that's probably been dented with the results they've had this year. So we'll watch that roll out. Of course, as you said, they did beat the Czechoslovakia 3-2, but it was 3-2. It wasn't 6-2, and they lost to Germany. Just going back to the US women's national soccer team, they actually, they've been going to trial next May with their case for equal pay. But they just this last week were granted class action lawsuit, which obviously would make a big difference. And I think it may or may not keep them out of the courts. I don't know at this point, but it does change the status by, winning that classification, that certification of the case. So we'll be watching that. And I'm going to put a link in the show notes at wisports.com, where you get all the show notes of the stories and links to the stories that we're covering here each week. On the website at wisports.com. And that link will be to the National Law Review, which actually explains legally what that process is, because I know people are curious about that. What does it really mean? Will they go to court next May, or will it stay out of the courts? Will they reach a settlement? So there's a lot to play for, and a lot of legal arguments between now and then. So we'll continue to watch that story as well. And as I mentioned, leading up to the Olympic Games, we're going to have a lot of stories, but you've got one about Mizuki Noguchi, who's going to be the first torchbearer for Tokyo 2020.
Yeah, so she's been picked earlier this week. She won gold at Athens 2004, so she is one of the previous Olympic champions. So happens in Olympia in Greece, and a Greek runner gets the flame first and runs with it, and then so she's going to be the first Japanese person to carry it. And that's on March the 12th. So we're getting closer and closer until the Olympics. So that's kind of relatively soon now. And yeah, she's just kind of said how obviously she won her Olympic gold in Greece, so she's going to be in Greece receiving the flame for an Olympics in her home country. So I think it's quite special for her that she's been picked to do that.
Yeah, that's a great honour. So let's give her a cheer. Something she will always remember. Well, going on right now in Dubai is the World Para Athletics Championships. We've had a lot of World Championships this year, haven't we, Nancy, one way or the other? And I know that this is being live streamed on their website. So again, we'll put a link on our show notes that you can go and watch if you want to. They've got a couple of days of competitions left. What's been making the news there this last week, Nancy?
Well, we've had a kind of a continuation of certain athletes dominating. So I've seen, in Britain, one of our athletes, Hannah Cockcroft, she's a 5-time Paralympic champion, and she won her 11th world title, which is obviously incredibly impressive. And the gold she won in was the women's T34 100 meters, and that's her 5th consecutive gold medal in that event at the World Championships. So she's been really, really dominating. And then I saw as well Amara Durand from Cuba. She got her 10th world title, and that was in the women's 100 meters T12. So she said herself it's been 10 years without losing, which is really quite incredible. So we're kind of seeing quite a lot of people continuing winning streaks so far.
Good for them. Well, we love to see that. I mean, really, para athletics in any sport has risen and into more prominence now. I mean, each year we see more championships, more champions in so many different sports. It really is inspiring. And of course, that will all be part of Tokyo 2020 as well, the Paralympic Games. Will you be staying on to cover that after the Games, Nancy?
Yeah, we will have people from inside the Games there, but I'm not too sure who yet. But we will be covering that, yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on to boxing, you've got some news from India.
Yeah, this is kind of not a backlash, but this is kind of from what happened at the Women's World Boxing Championships, which I covered in Russia. So there's Mary Kom, who a lot of people may have heard of because she's quite a legendary amateur boxer in women's boxing, because she's a 6-time world champion and she's just kind of been on the scene for ages. Before the World Championships, the Boxing Federation of India, so the BFI, they said that any Indian boxer who got a gold or a silver medal at the Women's World Championships would directly qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. So they would hand direct places to the boxer for their own qualifying competition. So at the moment, there's kind of a preliminary competition that just happens in India, and then the best Indian boxers will go to a qualifier for the Olympics, if that makes sense. So Mary Kom, if she had won silver or gold, would have gone straight to the kind of worldwide qualifier. But she didn't. She won bronze, and people may remember that it was quite controversial because she had wanted to protest her result but wasn't able to. So she had only got bronze. And it kind of seemed like the BFI had introduced this rule because they were assuming that Kom would either get silver or gold, and they were like, okay, so this means, she goes straight to the qualifier and won't have to compete with boxers in her own country to get there. So after the World Championships, they said it doesn't matter that you didn't get gold or silver, you can go straight to this qualifier anyway, which obviously caused a bit of upset among the other Indian boxers in the same category. So Nikhat Zareen, she was the main one that kind of caused a fuss about it, and that was a few weeks ago. And Com said in response that if they did fight to try and get to this qualifier, it would be pointless because Com's victory would be a formality, which is quite arrogant. But I guess if you're 6-time world champion, you could probably say things like that. But now it's been decided that Com will now fight Serene in a trial bout. So whoever wins that will then go on to the boxing qualifier for the Olympics. So that's quite interesting. I think it's definitely the fair thing to do, but it's almost like Com has set herself up now. She has to win this, really, because if she doesn't, it's going to be like quite embarrassing, really.
I would say so.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, we'll stay tuned for that, obviously, because boxing is going through a bit of a sticky patch, to say the least. I was going to say sticky wicket, but that would be true too, but that would lead us very nicely to our next story. It comes from cricket because it's that time of the year when the Northern Hemisphere starts to head south to warmer climes to play during the winter season. And the England women have just announced their squad for the Pakistan tour. They've got 6 games that they'll be playing, and they've named a squad. They've got a new player at first call up for Worcestershire leg spinner Sarah Glenn. And youngsters Maddie Villiers will be retaining her place that she got during this summer alongside Sussex seamer Freya Davis. So there's names there to get used to, I think, under this new coaching regime. You may remember we mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Lisa Keatley was appointed the England women's head coach there. First time they've had a women's head coach. She's a former Australian international. And so she'll be leading that team in Pakistan. And she'll be leading a team that are currently the 50 and over world champions. And they did make it to the final of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. But with some new faces as well, they obviously need to get a little bit more consistency in their team, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's always quite interesting when a new coach or manager comes in and selects kind of new players and brings them in, because it's just, it's always a fresh viewpoint. And I think that's one of the positive things of when you have a new coach. They might have, seen talent in someone that's the previous manager might not have seen. So it'd be good to see how that all works out.
Yeah, it will. And they're playing all through December. They've got matches, three ODIs and then 3 IT20s, pretty much back to back. So it's going to be a busy December for them. So good luck to them. I have to say I still support England women's cricket. Cricket being a passion, I can't get away from it. It's a passion. I start my day very often on Twitter watching the highlights, and wickets, video wickets or wicket videos on Twitter from around the world. Keeps me going because there's nothing like watching some wickets fall. Anyway, all that to look forward to. Are you a cricketer? Are you a fan of cricket?
I wasn't, and then I've gradually. I was in Leeds for university, so obviously we had the Headingley Stadium on our doorstep, so I watched a bit then. And then obviously I think this summer England, in terms of England cricket, it was just, you couldn't not go through this summer and not be a cricket fan. So that kind of was quite a formative moment for me in my cricket interests.
Yeah, well, it can't get much better than Headingley, of course, up north there. What a wonderful ground to go and watch cricket. All right, well, for the sake of the England women, we'll give them a little cheer along the way. And we'd mentioned that the World Cup skiing season is underway. Alpine skiing is underway. I know that you don't follow this as closely because you don't really have any heroes to follow in England, but I'm a big fan, always have been, of alpine skiing. And this first slalom race is underway in not this weekend, but the following weekend. They go to Finland for that in the really frozen north, and it really is frozen up there. It's so cold for that race, and that's taking place 23rd, 24th of November. So the week after next, we'll be following that and bringing you the results. I do share that on social media quite a bit because I follow it closely. And then, of course, they come over to the US, to Killington and Lake Louise, before they head back to Europe and St. Moritz. So we get our first downhill of the season in Lake Louise. That's traditional here, but they're coming over to Killington in Vermont after they've been to Levi in Finland. So that's the World Cup skiing, and that's pretty much a wrap for this week, isn't it, Nancy? Have you got anything else?
No, that's it really. I'll be heading to the Arsenal women versus Tottenham women match this weekend, which is at Tottenham's. They've built a new stadium, which is meant to be really, really cool. So obviously I'm going for the football, but I also want to go and have a look around that stadium. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be good. Will
you post some photos on social media?
Yeah, I definitely will. Hopefully it'll be a big Arsenal win as well.
Okay, well, good luck, since that is your team and you supporting them. So good luck there. I think you're going to get used to them winning now before Sam Kerr arrives for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I think potentially one of Kerr's first games would be Arsenal away. So that would be really, really fun to see. I might try and go if I can.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, as I say, post the pictures on social media and we will share them. This weekend, I'm going to be heading down to Florida to get some Florida sun because it is cold up north here in the US. I'm heading down for the Ocala 3-day event, which takes place near Ocala in Florida, in northern Florida, which is not far from Gainesville, if you know northern Florida. And that's pretty much a wrap for the season here in the US. We have obviously some events through the winter in Florida because we can, and it has the climate, and in South Carolina. But in terms of that, season finale, if you will, that's at the Jockey Club. That's a CCI 3-star long competition, which takes place this weekend. And I'll be down there having fun among horses and friends. So I'll be posting things on social media and hopefully get an interview with one of the leading riders there for next week's The Horse Show podcast. So that's pretty much a wrap for this week. What's up? What's happening for you apart from following the football? What else are you doing, Nancy? Where are you going?
So next week I've got the Women's Fitness Championships in Slovakia. So I've got a bit of time off. I'll be watching football and then I'm heading over there, which will be fun.
Yeah, well, good luck. Okay, well, we'll be back here at the same time next week, will we?
Yes, I will be. Yeah, next Wednesday's perfect.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, of course, you can keep up with everything we're doing here at WiSP Sports by following us on social media at WiSP Sports. And Nancy is Nancy_Gillen, Gillen, also on Twitter too. And anything that Nancy does, you can read about on InsideTheGames.biz. Nancy, always great to catch up. See you next time, same place next week, I should say.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.